Before setting the stage for today's venture comes an addendum to the previous one. Only a couple days after the release of my first installment to this series, costume department head of Barney and Friends, Ray Henry, would release new little-known information about Barney's costumes to the Barney Plush fans Facebook group. One of these new details being that the Barney seen in both seasons 1 and 2 are in fact the exact same costume. As the fleece would ball up over time, adjustments would have to be made in order to accommodate and keep the suits running strong due to their expensivity and longevity. This would be a common occurrence for all Barney costumes thereforward, with Barney's special as mentioned in the previous video being the same costume as in season 3. As new information continues to roll out filling the holes of the dinosaur's history, this series is solely to document and observe the different variations and appearance changes of the character over time. Thank you to everyone for the kind corrections on the past installment, and also for coming to view this one. I'll be back at the end of this video for closing remarks, but until then, I'm Hedge, and why don't we set the stage? The many faces of Barney, the Lyrick era. See you! The year is 1996, and Barney once again has a somewhat new look in a stage show for Barney's Big Surprise. For the first time, David Joyner would not be inside the big purple dinosaur for a live mainline event, but inside at different points would be Carrie Stenson and Josh Martin, who some may know as the voice of various characters from the Dragon Ball franchise. A pre-recorded performance by Bob West would act as Barney's voice for each show, as Barney's Big Surprise would run from 1996 to 1998, leaving both Bob West and David Joyner free to continue filming the television series.
Is everyone ready to have a stupendous time?
Barney continues the look of keeping the eyelids the same shade as the body itself. Previously, possibly also due to the lighting, Barney's eyes would appear with somewhat of a shadow around the eyelids. Here, however, the eyes appear to have been brought forward slightly, removing the shadows almost entirely. The teeth, most notably the bottom row of teeth, appear significantly larger, almost obscuring the mouth movements when viewed at certain shots and angles. The fleece, most notable around the bottom jaw, also seems to fold more when the character speaks. Barney's Big Surprise would run for 2 years across the US, but as previously stated, in the background, the dinosaur would continue with new friends and new videos. 1997. In between the finale of Season 3 and the start of Season 4 of Barney and Friends, Barney would continue trucking along with multiple home video releases, including Barney's Adventure Bus and Can't Wanna Run Around. Yes, that's the name of the camp. Whatever. This marks the beginning of this new era of Barney the Dinosaur in many ways. A new park setting, an entirely new cast, as well as a different look than what was known prior in the television series. However, this would not yet officially be the start of the 4th season, being their own home video releases before the next season would officially air, and even using Season 3's version of the Barney and Friends intro theme and visuals. In the previous installment, I mistakenly mentioned that the weighted eye blinking mechanism had been phased out. However, the mechanism would still continue to be used. Let's talk about it. Specifically in home video releases, such as Barney's Adventure Bus and Can't Wanna Run Around, there are multiple scenes in which Barney's eyes can be seen essentially static during jumps as well as when leaning down, as opposed to previous seasons of the show.
The thing! Follow me, campers! We're going to unfold the tape material. Whoa! Whoa! I've got enough. Oh, great! Attention, happy campers!
In Barney's Good Day, Good Night, the blinking mechanism, albeit still barely noticeable, is very much present. Interestingly enough, the eyes themselves in this release seem to bobble left and right much more liberally than in any other costume prior. It's often been stated that this is where Barney's ability to move his eyes is brought in. In reality, the character has had this somewhat loose Google-eyed function in previous costumes before. In the Backyard Gang, the eyes could be maneuvered by hand manually.
A fun park it is! Oops, sorry. I must have done that backwards.
In other iterations, the function was just not as noticeable, given the darkness around the eye area, as well as the eyes, including the white portion inside the eyes, not being as large.
Sure, Barney, but what?
Just a few things from this envelope.
It does appear that some costumes either don't have this function entirely, or the eyes just aren't as loose. It's weird. Anyways, whether or not multiple costumes were used is uncertain, but what is certain is that Barney during this time period is nearly identical to the iteration used in Barney's Big Surprise. The teeth, however, are not as large. The lower row of teeth also appear to have been rounded slightly more towards the bottom. Barney's color also comes off a bit more pale in this iteration. As mentioned earlier, both David Joyner and Bob West would continue their roles in performing the character. Here, and into Barney and Friends, 4th season. Barney and Friends Season 4 hits late 1997 with the design changes as seen prior, the new playground set, the redesigned treehouse, and a new look for the inside of the school. The intro theme has also received a new coat of paint in terms of both visuals as well as an entirely redone version of the main song. As we'll see with future seasons, Barney's look would feature only slight design differences, appearing mostly the same across the next few years. For instance, this is Barney now. Eye blinking mechanism intact. The eyelids also seem to have been brought down a bit more. The costume's color is stronger, a more vibrant shade than before. It's important to note that during the production of Season 4, there would be some switching around, between costume performers that is. Although there had been talks of a film years prior, production for a feature-length film for the Big Dinosaur would not officially begin until 1997, to be titled Barney's Great Adventure, The Movie. In an effort to remain faithful to the character, David Joyner and Bob West would play Barney in the film, while the television series would continue to operate in the background. Barney and Friends was filmed in Texas, while Barney's Great Adventure would be filmed outside Montreal, Canada. Replacing David Joyner as the body of Barney for certain episodes of Season 4 would be Maurice Scott and Josh Martin. Replacing the voice of Barney would be voice actor Duncan Brannon, while Brannon would provide the voice during filming, allowing the body performer to act along to a Barney track. West would eventually return to dub over these lines.
And squirrels, raccoons, and beavers. Lots of animals like to live near ponds.
One other interesting thing to point out, specifically involving episodes in which Josh Martin would pilot the character, is the space in between the top of Barney's stomach and bottom jaw is significantly more present. Just thought I'd throw that in there as I noticed it while I was writing the script. It's actually pretty weird, but I don't know. Anyways, well, actually not anyways. Actually, we have an intermission. To accommodate for the hot and intensive nature of wearing a costume as demanding as Barney the Dinosaur, inside the head would be a cooling fan that could be turned on manually by simply knocking against it. Performers could then use this in between takes to keep themselves cool throughout the production period. Another little known fact is that the entire set of teeth on Barney's costumes were removable, allowing much better airflow for the character performer inside when not on camera. This would not be without its own share of issues. During the filming of an episode of Season 4, while Josh Martin would be inside the character, a malfunction would take place, as a bolt would grind against one of the wires of the cooling fan inside the head. This would result in smoke spewing out through the mouth of the Barney costume. Martin would speak about this in a panel from 2019.
I turned on the fan, and I took a step, and I went, what, something burning? And I look out the mouth, and everybody's just, taking their notes, doing their regular thing. Nobody's moving. I was like, all right, I guess everything's cool. A couple seconds later, I take another step. What is... Every breath I was taking felt like I was, inhaling smoke, right? Side note, there was a special effect going on where popcorn was going to shoot out of the table, Scooter the squirrel. There was popcorn. So I was thinking, I'm trying to reason it. This is probably part of the special
Scooter's
effect.
burning the popcorn again.
Right? I didn't know. I just ran off stage yelling, get me out of this thing. And I've been told that when I did is when smoke came out of the mouth and the back of the fleece.
Oh my gosh.
Threw it off of me, and I was just confused because I was young and super in great shape, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. And they were just relax, just settle down, settle down. I'm like, what's wrong? Just relax. All right. So I sat back. Next thing I know, here comes an ambulance.
Once Martin would realize, he was promptly removed from the suit and sent off to a hospital to be checked for smoke inhalation. Word would spread around and it would make local news that Barney was on fire. Just goes to show that suit performers, regardless of who or what they are playing, big or small, deserve the utmost respect for the work they put in, as the level of endurance they strive to present to us every single day is something very easily overlooked. Barney's Great Adventure, the movie. A huge outing for the character, for obvious reasons. Although the box office and critical reception were not at all stellar, I mean, geez, bro. This would be Barney's big foray onto the big screen. Just as a side note, in the script, I accidentally wrote this would be Big Barney's foray onto the big screen. In the first 3 videos, Barney and the Backyard Gang, Barney belonged to Michael and Amy. In the next 3, Barney belonged to Tina. In the TV series, he resided as a toy at the school. But here, Barney is in the hands of Cody, Abby, and Marcella. While I won't go into the film's entire plot, as that's not what this video is about and could serve as a video on its own, basically, the kids and Barney find a magical egg. They lose the egg, they have to go find the egg. The end. Here's Barney. Barney's design, for the most part, is essentially identical to his, at the time, current appearance in the television series. Both rows of teeth are thinner and smaller than the season 4 iteration. The tail curls up a bit more. The eyes are also slightly larger and without the weighted blinking mechanic, as it would be replaced with a more lively mechanic just for the film. Here, Barney's eyes are controlled via remote, allowing the character to blink and or fully close his eyes to fit with certain scenes, adding a new layer of depth for this big budget outing.
But you could start, you could start by wishing on a star.
The usage of this remote adjustment is very active and adds much more to the facial aspect of Barney than is given credit for.
Oh, cheer up, Abby. We'll find that egg.
Barney's Great Adventure would land in theaters in early 1998. 1998 would also be the final year in which series creator Cheryl Leach would serve as executive producer of the Barney franchise. As mentioned earlier, Barney's visual design would not receive many updates or as noticeable differences, aside from general touch-ups and maintenance, compared to what we'd seen in the first 3 seasons of the television series. The mouth would be more rounded towards the bottom in one episode, then a bit larger the next. The head and eye size would fluctuate slightly. In some instances, the stomach would appear much bigger. In some home videos, such as Come On Over to Barney's House, Barney's eyes are further spaced apart, and the stomach, which would normally come to a point in between the legs, is rounded instead. But for the most part, Barney in seasons 4 through 6, as well as direct-to-video releases through 2000, remained largely the same. As Barney would continue moving forward, so would company dealings. Casts would be changed up once again, sets would be reimagined, and the character would head into a new venture: hit entertainment. What is up, guys? I'm Hedge and I'm back, and thank you guys for watching today's video. Thank you for checking out my video in general. There's a car going by, sorry. Thank you for coming to my channel in general, Hedge on Stage. There's a lot going on in the background, which is why there's usually a big gap in time between when one video comes out and the next one comes out. I want to assure everyone that I'm always working on new scripts. I always have new content in the works. Right now I have at least 2 to 3 different scripts going into production right now, so keep an eye out for that. The easiest way to keep in track with my channel is to, of course, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of when new videos come out, whenever they do come out. Another way to keep in track of me is by checking out my Twitter and following that. My Twitter is in the description down below, as well as all my other socials that I use. They'll always be in the video's description. And again, I thank you so much for checking out my content, and I hope to see you guys in the next stage. But until then, I'm Hedge, and I will see you guys in the next video. See you!